Para
O tayo parang bilog na lang naman.
Spin-off na siya. Ari ang grupo ng at diri ang house. Kung mag-speak diri. Apat na liburo. Repeat nga sabi. Yan. Dala ka bikin to. Ang mas strong siguro. Yan. Pwede na to. Pwede siguro. Masawas ka nila. Ayun. Nauna ako.
Tinawag ko siguro.
Live ba?
CPU, ano, CPU kita o tawag ko na so, later,
At tayo, dito, diba? Copies, and then, class natin, no? Yung ganito. Pag wala ako,
afternoon, everyone.
ayun na makinig mga copy.
We're trying to have this kind of seminar, which is known as webinar online seminar. So we are viewing right now 3 universities. 3. One is University of Makati University, PUP, another one, Dr. Sanjay, the president of the lower part. PUP, and then the other one is from Ateneo de Naga. So we see that according to the director of the local governance in Ateneo de Naga lower part.
We're ready.
Ready.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. We are already set here in Central Philippine University, though our mayor is not yet, yeah, our speaker is not yet around, but she confirmed that she is coming then.
May 10 minutes
Ayan, paano pag sila nakapag-check?
every after.
Hindi. Alt-tab lang. Sabay, isa lang. Tab lang. Alt. Eh, ito na yun, naka-red.
Yes, we're ready.
avoid these challenges and risks or make it or prevent any risk that we may encounter. And without further ado, I also would like to give an overview about the organization we are in partner with. So regarding the first organization, we have the Philippine Society for Public Administration, or also known as PSPA, wherein the president is one of our speakers, Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina, and the PSPA provides opportunities to build a strong professional network with other social scientists, policymakers, and school administrators involved in education and training and public administration through its affiliation and other professional organizations. So in short, PSPA, these are the professional organization of public administration of professionals. And when it comes to the other organization we are in partner with, the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines, Incorporated, or this is also known as ASPAP. So ASPAP primarily focus on capacity building and development. They also have research and knowledge products such as source book on human rights, right-based approach system tools, and the like. And they also have linkages, partnership, and networking, local and international. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first resource speaker from the University of Makati, none other than the president of the PSPA, and she is Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina. And on top of being the president of the PSPA, she is also the senior vice president and dean of the Graduate School of Public and Development Management of the Development Academy of the Philippines. So may I now call on Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to, of course, Dr. Malu Barciliano, who initiated this webinar project, and to our partner here at the University of Makati through CCAPS for providing the platform or the venue for this lecture, which is, of course, live, telecast live, no, with our partners in Bicol, Capiz, Antique, and PUP. Na? So this is the first time that we are doing this type of lecture. So let me begin by laying the premise that in this fourth industrial revolution era, of course, if we want a government that is agile, no, and innovative, we need to focus on the capacity of government employees or the civil servants. And this is only through this way that we will be able to cope with the demands of time. And this presentation is anchored on frenetic leadership and also on governance reform framework introduced by Dr. Alex Brillantes and myself. Now, and how are we going to cope with the demands? It is really through knowledge co-creation. So let me start with this one. By showing to you our framework on frenetic leadership and governance reform framework. So we need to be technologically advanced, and of course, by being advanced in terms of the use of technology, we will be able to introduce social innovations in our organization. So this one is about the School of Athens, introduced by Raphael. It's a fresco which talks about knowledge co-creation, because we have so many philosophers there, including Plato and Aristotle, of course, and Michelangelo, and also Diogenes, no, who said that leadership really matters. And another one is the quotation from Professor Nanaka, which he mentioned or reiterated that knowledge is the only meaningful resource today compared to other resources like money, property, and even power. So it's unlimited, but knowledge, once co created, it becomes unlimited and meaningful. And in the fourth industrial revolution today, we need to have knowledge co creation. Right. So this fresco is very significant, no, for the Philippine Society for Public Administration because we advance the practice, no, and the theory in public administration in the Philippines, and likewise we set the standards, no, the academic standards in the Philippines by providing platform. One example, of course, this one, the webinar, wherein we deepen the discourse on the new trends and innovations in public management. All right. So knowledge co-creation as an anchor and as a framework for fourth industrial revolution was introduced by Professor Ikojiro Nonaka, whose only ambition was to develop a new, original, made-in-Japan theory rather than borrowing theories from elsewhere. So with that introduction of knowledge co-creation based on the six abilities of a frenetic leader, he was able to introduce innovations and agility in private businesses, enterprises like 7-Eleven, Toyota, Honda, what else? Uniqlo, and among others. And now they want to really advocate agility and innovation in the public sector. That's why he assembled, or JICA and GRIPS assembled this frenetic leadership for ASEAN scholars and practitioners. So PSPA is one of the recipients of this knowledge co-creation project. All right. This one is the framework, the SECI model. It's complicated, it's complex, right? But if you will really study this one, it's very simple. It talks about four pillars or components. First is on socialization. It talks about tacit knowledge. Now, if you have tacit knowledge and if you socialize, you do observations, you'll be easy. It will be very easy to determine what are the problems and what are the issues and challenges in the society. The second one is on externalization. This is about articulating the tacit knowledge. So if you have the tacit knowledge, then what are you going to do with that in order for you to contribute to the organization's efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. And then from externalization, you go to combination. And by combination, you will synthesize the tacit and explicit knowledge. And with that, you will form or produce manuals, frameworks, or concept notes so that your employees or your colleagues will be able to understand what is this tacit knowledge all about that you are introducing as part of your innovations. And from combination, you go to internalization. It's learning and acquiring new tacit knowledge. And then you go back again. So it's, as you can see, there is a spiral there. It's really about continuing innovation. It's never ending. When you say knowledge creation, patuloy po yon. So, continuous yung spiral natin. Okay, so with that framework and with the governance framework, which I introduced later on, we're able to conduct many short courses. One example is on choices in local governments. It's a course for harnessing organizational and individual capacities for excellent services. So that's PSPA's initiative in order for us to really advocate frenetic leadership and knowledge co-creation. This one was sponsored by DAP, JICA, and CRIPS. It's for ARMM managers before it was converted to BARM. Another one is, of course, our seminar for COA for auditors, for our auditors and for our DILG local government officials. And then aside from that, we have leadership cases, applying frenetic leadership. So these are new cases, the amalgamation of the island garden city of Samal, then profiling the urban railway system of metropolitan Manila, and attaining frenesis in the amalgamation of USTP. So we have LGU amalgamation, we have HEI amalgamation, and then the state of urban railway station of Metro Manila. So these are new cases aside from the cases that we wrote in 2018. Okay, so this is now the governance reform framework. As you can see, we have 5 handles in analyzing the issues and concerns in the Philippine bureaucracy. First is on institutions. Institutions will look into processes, procedures, and systems, and we use the 5 E's: efficiency, effectiveness, economy, ethics, and equity. And the 1A. 1A is on accountability. That's one handle. Another handle is on mindsets, behaviors, and paradigms. So really need to focus on the changing behaviors, the culture, and the values of the Filipino in accepting or looking into the policies of the government. Then we have frenetic leadership. Leadership, particularly frenetic leadership. As I mentioned earlier, we have a framework and we have the 6 abilities of a frenetic leader. Then we have citizen engagement, which is very important. It's part of our democratic values. We need the participation of the citizens and other stakeholders. And the last handle is on communication. Communication must be a virtuous cycle. It must be two-way in order for the policymakers and for the citizenry to be able to understand what are the policies of the government. And with that, if we are able to use these handles, we'll be able to attain our vision. And what are our goals? First, of course, on Ambition natin 2020, it's part of our Philippine Development Plan. And along with that, we also have to localize and realize the importance of sustainable development goals. And with the 4th Industrial Revolution, we need to look into the importance of technology. How are we going to maximize our technology? Okay. So from 1.0 to 4.0, this is basically the diagram. No? So as you can see, there is an evolution. There is an evolution and there is development. So from 1784 with mechanization, and we go to 1870, that's 2.0. It's about mass production. 3.0, it's about automation. Now the 4.0, it's about cyber physical systems, and that's today. And I want to show you also what are the 14 strategic trends that the Philippine government has introduced for us. Okay, so why 4.0? So it is really characterized by innovations such as artificial intelligence, automation, and biotechnology. But how are we going to cope with the demands of the 4th Industrial Revolution? How are we going to introduce innovations? It is, again, we have to go back to knowledge co-creation. That's why I introduced the framework on frenetic leadership. So, again, this automation, artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth, it's really about improving the different services that we have in the country, not only in the country, but in the world, like the business processes, logistics, and healthcare, and electronics, and manufacturing. And if we deal with the public sector, then the delivery of public services. Okay. These are the 14 strategic trends introduced by the DICT, the Department of Information Communication Technology. So you have the 4th Industrial Revolution, you have artificial intelligence, you have big data, you have cloud computing, Internet of Things, blockchain, 5G networks, na wala pa tayo ngayon, 4G pa lang tayo, di ba? Smart cities, intelligent transport system, financial technology, health informatics, cyber resilience, future skills, and capacity building. So at the end of the day, what's important really is for us to cope with the demands of time by making ourselves capable and giving ourselves also this professional skills that the 21st century need from us. So, according to Alvin Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. So, this is really a process of learning. That's why, as we always say it, learning is a scalar process. It's a continuous, never-ending process. That's why we need to invest professionally. We have to attend conferences, we have to attend seminars, leadership training programs, and of course, get this graduate degree programs. So, how do we lead change and embrace that change in the world of VUCAD? No, I'd like to add D on it. So it's about vulnerabilities, uncertainties, complexities, and ambiguities. And letter D is about what? Disastrous. No. So how are we going to cope with the demands of time? No, it's hard because it's not only about technology. It's about values. It's about leadership. No, it's about innovations. It's about knowledge creation and agility. So for the private sector, we have this. We have Instagram, we have Uber, we have Airbnb, we have Alibaba, we have Netflix, and we have Facebook. They don't have the infrastructure, but they have the content. So very innovative. And looking at these innovations, what do you think the government sector can do in order to improve its services? So we need to make use of the technology that we have. Okay, so why governance is shifting in the fourth industrial revolution? According to World Economic Forum, we need to have a new type of governance. In order to what? In order to address the interlinked dynamics of pace and synergistic nature of emerging technologies, the transnational impact of technologies, and broader societal implications, and the political nature of technologies. But I'd like to emphasize that these trends are just temporary. What's important at the end of the day is what? Is our ethical values, our culture that we need to preserve. So from governance to good governance, we have our guiding principles. Still, these guiding principles of good governance are very important in the fourth industrial revolution. I don't need to elaborate on that because that's very basic for us, public administrators and scholars, to know what are the principles of good governance. And we need to have agile governance. How are we going to have an agile governance? So it requires a transformation of traditional governance structures and policy-making models now. And accordingly, the concept of agile governance aims to shift the manner in which policies are generated, deliberated, enacted, and enforced. Like, for example, the use of technology can help policymakers make real-time decisions, right? Because of IoT, Internet of Things, censored siya. No? So easily, if you have a technology, you can detect at one time 27 diseases. So you have that space technology, you have sensor technology that can detect, and also water, okay? Water sanitation and so on and so forth. To our partner in BICOL, please let me know if I still have time to further discuss this matter. So with that, we need to have smart governance as well, no? Because we don't want to have a government that repeats the same mistake, no? A government without problem-solving ability, inefficient government with low output, with large input, a backward government that rushes rather than later after an accident. So what is smart government? Smart government is a government with learning ability, competent, effective, and it prepares in advance, right? So along with that, we need to have smart cities. Like, for example, in Singapore, they gave back 60 hours to their residents, no? To the residents because of smart governance with the use of sensor devices. Okay, so smart city is about introducing innovations, no, and using ICT to improve quality of life and sustainable development. Okay, so very briefly, I'd like to give you the top 10 smart cities in the world. So London, New York, Amsterdam, Paris, Reykjavik, and then Tokyo, no, Singapore, Copenhagen, Berlin, and Vienna. Okay, so I don't have time anymore. I think I have to end with this top 10 cities in the world, smart cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lizan Perante. I am sure we can take your questions later during the open forum. May I now introduce our second speaker. Our second speaker is a Professor Ford, Director of Quality Assurance Center from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And he is also the president of ASPAP Incorporated. Without further ado, may I call on Dr. Sanjay P. Claudio.
Good day, everyone. I am Dr. Sanjay P. Claudio of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and I am here at our ICT Center. It is said that our generation's attention span has increasingly shortened in the last 15 years, which is now at 8 seconds. Through the invitation of Dr. Malu Barciliano, I was asked as president of ASPAP to share for 15 minutes several humble insights on an important topic, which is enabling local governments amidst the fourth industrial revolution. I am therefore hopeful that you will bear with me and that my discussion will spur more interactions at the end of my talk. For today's 15-minute presentation, I would like to discuss 5 ideas that would help us better understand how local governments should gear towards the fourth industrial revolution, or FIRE. I will start with introducing important terms and concepts related to FIRE relative to the Philippine context. Next, we'd like to see the opportunities offered and challenges presented by the FIRE to local governments in particular. Local governments' roles as drivers of growth have evolved, and how do we then see the role now in the near future? We are hopeful that opportunities can be harnessed and challenges overcome amid the more skewed access to the positive windfalls of the fourth industrial revolution. Hence, 5 quick innovative practices done by our selected Philippine local government units will also be quickly discussed. Finally, let me provide my humble recommendations before we end this presentation. The main question that guides us through this whole discussion is this: how should Philippine local governments respond to and engage in the changing landscape that the fourth industrial revolution brings? The same question has been posted by ADB and the World Economic Forum in an earlier study about the readiness of the ASEAN region for the fourth industrial revolution. A large part of my discussion have been anchored in this paper as it reflects the same for the Philippines. To design an effective and inclusive response, let's first understand the fourth industrial revolution in the Philippine context. As we know, we are now in the fourth stage of industrialization. As discussed by Dr. Lizan, the first revolution featured mechanization, and steam power, which started in Britain around 1760. It was powered by a major invention, the steam engine. The steam engine enabled new manufacturing processes, leading to the creation of factories. This is followed by mass production and the assembly line as pioneered by Ford Industries when they started manufacturing cars. The second industrial revolution came a century later, characterized by mass production in new industries like steel, oil, and of course, electricity. The light bulb, telephone, and internal combustion engine was some of the key inventions of the second industrial revolution. The third wave featured digital streams through computers, electronics, and the advent of automation. This marked by the invention of semiconductors, personal computers, and the internet. It started in the 1960s and was referred to as the digital revolution. In the fourth revolution, we are faced with cyber-physical stream, an increasing connectedness and hybridity in the physical and virtual worlds. Simply put, this refers to how technologies like artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, and the Internet of Things are merging with human physical lives. Think of voice-activated assistants, facial ID recognitions, or digital healthcare sensors. Squab argued that these technological changes are drastically altering how individuals, companies, and governments operate, ultimately leading to a societal transformation similar to previous industrial revolutions. So much so that it has become a buzzword and almost all sectors have their responses, hence the terms Education 4.0 and Healthcare 4.0 and finally Governance 4.0. Sorry, where's in the fourth revolution, we're faced with cyber-physical streams. And therefore, it has changed the way we communicate, it has changed the way we interact with each other. It has changed our lifestyle. Literature has been robust when it comes to the impacts of fire for the global community. What it fails to fully discuss, however, is how this would affect the developing world and how they would participate once fire fully redefines our existence. Several headlines in our newspapers raise the same underlying question: are we indeed ready? What are we doing to prepare and cope? And what would it bring us in the near future? Let us look at the situation today. A recent study by the World Bank shows that the Philippines is still plagued by age-old challenges: poverty reduction, public sector reform, and job creation. This becomes more challenging with the kind of economy we have today. True enough, jobs are made with our service-driven economy and continued labor export policy, but are these good enough steps to make us fire-ready? The data shows otherwise. We are too preoccupied with service that we forget to innovate and invest on improving skills and human capital. The end result notes that our large pool of young, well-educated labor force remain fully untapped. No wonder many of us choose to leave for overseas work. How do this relate to fire? Definitely, this new age requires new infrastructures, especially on the digital realm, relies largely on technology and artificial intelligence, and therefore asks for a new or upgraded sets of skills. A large number of jobs, especially in the service sector, like accounting, banking, data processing, what have you, are at risk of automation. A recent report from the International Labour Organization notes that 56% of jobs in 5 ASEAN countries, one of which is the Philippines, are at risk of being replaced by automated robots or machines. If we are caught off guard, the current development challenges we face would be exacerbated. It is also important to note that the country also faces socio-economic inequalities, which may then extend while we transition towards a more digital age. We are nominally ready for fire. We are preparing. We have government agencies and public policies, the DICT, cybercrime laws, but another equally important concern is if these nominal preparations are extended across the nation. The danger is only if urban areas are prepared, while the rest of the country remain disadvantaged and plagued by a digital divide. Again, the problems would become more pronounced. The new age offers both opportunities and challenges for local governments. Before we answer fully their role and their response, let us first see what the ground looks like. On the left, I listed down opportunities, while on the right are challenges to be faced by local governments once fire become pronounced. First, opportunity: increased platform for wealth creation and distribution, and a greater focus on small, medium enterprises. A lot of Filipinos have been cashing on an online business, and niche industries not captured by traditional measures. Small and medium enterprises would emerge more given that people rely on efficient and less costly products. With greater opportunities to accumulate wealth, the second opportunity notes how FIRE offers broader forms of socioeconomic inclusion. Those who cannot access services from before have found allies online. Right now, we can study online through online courses and virtual universities. Healthcare is more personalized with telemedicine. People can also access money and credit through online banking and new financial services. New technologies such as drones offer means to deliver packages in remote areas or monitor conflict areas. Smart urban transport systems help ease traffic and prevent accidents, given real-time information from users. Menon and Think paper calls this leapfrogging, the capacity to bypass traditional phases of industrial developments given technological advancements. Third, public service delivery is expected to improve given that technology reduces human contact. This thereby reduces windows for corruption, bribery, or even other forms of bureaucratic distortions. People can now apply for a new business license or renew it online. Some other LGUs have done online databasing to better understand their constituencies. And finally, far social networks sharing moods. The challenges are equally important to discuss. First, competition would be stiffer now that the economies have given economic advantages to already large establishments like Google, Facebook, Amazon. So while SMEs can innovate and provide niche services, it would be a steep climb to enter the market that is already dominated by big businesses. Further, there remains the challenge of automation. Studies show technologies like artificial intelligence will eliminate some jobs while creating demands for new jobs and skills. Some experts warn of a winner-take-all economy where highly skilled workers are rewarded with high pay and the rest of the workers are left behind. Again, reskilling is necessary. There is also the fact that multinational companies have begun to reshore functions back to advanced economies because production costs have shrunk given digitization. Cloud storage, online communications, and 3D printing, to name a few, there's lesser need for factories in Asia or even outsourced business processing here in our country. Where do local governments come in? The local government is the government closest to the people. The perceived agility, as mentioned by Dr. Lizan, effectiveness, efficiency, and even equity of the government as a whole is greatly affected by the day-to-day transaction and experiences of our people with their local governments. As drivers of growth and development, LGUs hold important keys to preparing the nation for fire. Decentralization in the Philippines offer larger rooms for Philippine LGUs to work towards improving public service delivery, citizen engagement, and ensuring accountable and transparent governance. Technology should not be seen as a panacea, but it creates broader platforms for local governments to become better stewards of democracy. We have seen this time and again in various best practices sharing, the Galing Pook Awards, and even in our own researches, the Philippine LGUs are good and they can do better. Of course, it is not a one-way street. The national government plays an important role in creating an enabling environment for LGUs to pursue more innovative policies. Incentives, awards, and performance funds push them to strive harder. The same is true for the recent metrics on good governance we have embraced. A more engaged and active citizens would also help improve local governance. We now look into 5 quick examples of innovative practices in response to fire. Majority of these won the first Digital Cities PH Awards sponsored by the Department of Information and Communication Technology, or DICT. First is the Iloilo City's Cabalacas Disaster Resiliency Hub. Iloilo City introduced a disaster resiliency hub through the support of CityNet Yokohama and JICA. the project intends to consolidate three zones for better response to disaster and risk. The first zone is the information zone, which talks about hazards and disaster timeline. It is followed by the learning zone, which talks about what people should do before, during, and after disasters through various interactive means. The Kabalaka zone includes city government initiatives on disaster resiliency. Looking closely, one notes that there's nothing new from the model. What makes it effective and worthy of replication is the fact that this had been integrated into one hub, and the role of technology in encouraging particularly students and the youth to become more resilient and ready. A notable work was that of digital artworks, films, and other technologies on flooding, flood monitoring, and early warning devices developed by students. This is a very good example of academe government partnership, or the so-called town and gown, because the partners in this activity or in this project are students coming from the Communication College of the West Visayas State University and other colleges in Iloilo. Your very own Naga City have also recently been awarded for ASAP, or Alisto Servicio app. Again, this takes advantage of technology to engage people in disaster preparedness and providing real-time information on services and needs. The province of Davao del Norte used an online database to consolidate their human resource information. This makes it easy for local government employees to update their information, but also for the provincial government to better understand the needs and structure of their workforce. This also won the best data-driven governance from the ICT. Marikina created a mechanism to continuously make decisions and legislative work amid natural calamities. They have an online correspondence session, and officials who are unable to come to work due to calamities can send their votes and opinion about declaring a state of calamity. So when a councillor is absent because of a calamity, and when a certain resolution must be passed, then they can meet online. For this innovative practice, Marikina won first place in the eGov Customer Empowerment category during the first Digital Cities PH Award supported by the ICT. Finally, the municipality of Cabinti, Laguna pioneered the first online payment system in the province. It is called Government Revenue, Accountability and Transparency, or GRAPE, done with the help of two private companies. It can generate payments and facilitate completed reports on various local government financial functions, business permits and licensing, treasury, accounting, budget, and real property tax assessments, for instance. There are many more best practices which can be dissected later on in this open forum, but I'd like to end my discussion with recommendations on how to move forward. First, LGU should take advantage of training and workshops geared towards preparing and meeting the demands of fire. Preparation is key to success. If we do not train and update ourselves, then we won't be equipped as necessary. Corollary to this, the national government agencies should work on more inclusive and responsive policies on e-governance and fire megatrends. Right now, the ICT has taken a more proactive role, particularly in instituting a national broadband system. It would also help if we can set standards as to online connectivity, immediate retaliation, and online blacklisting for fake news peddlers and disinformation networks are not the end-all and be-all solutions. If for anything, it can be politicized and may backfire. A return towards digital literacy and increased vigilance against disinformation would help root out the problem. The academy may also help in this area. As with regional economic integration, government benefits from stronger business ties in terms of knowledge exchange and training for workers in danger of automation. A tripartite work with TESDA and DepEd relative to the K-12 would also be helpful. A good example would be the partnership between Toyota and the city of Santa Rosa, Laguna in equipping young people in electronics and industry work. More partnership like this would provide alternative opportunities for our skilled workers. And finally, LGU should work with academic institutions, universities and colleges, and think tanks like the ASPAP to craft evidence-based policies, design and scale up innovative practices, and continue research work on fire. It would be different for the developing world, to which the Philippines is included. Much more understanding and a more nuanced research work would be necessary to craft better responses. The challenges for higher education institution is that it has to become epistemic communities, that it is not only able to disseminate knowledge, but to create it. The challenge on public servants inevitably becomes a challenge also to institutions that train them. In closing, I echo the call of SWAP to urge leaders and citizens to together shape the future that works by all, for all, by putting people first, empowering them, and constantly reminding ourselves that all of these new technologies are first and foremost tools made by people for people. Because at the end of the day, it is not weapons that win wars, but men who fought them. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay. And by the way, for those who are not yet aware, I'm glad to announce that we are via live streaming in YouTube. So if you have your mobile phones, for those who have the facility, they can just type the title of our webinar, which is Enabling Local Government Amidst the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Now, before we proceed with the presentation as the host institution, I would like to acknowledge the presence of representatives from ASPAP schools, NCF, Agile College Foundation, and University of Northeastern Philippines. And we also have representatives from PSPA. Thank you very much for coming and gracing this webinar. And as the host institution, we have our presentation entitled The Case of the Local Government Unit of Naga City, E-Governance, to be presented by the Information Technology Officer, none other than Mr. Ruel M.
Kasi
Thank you. So, let me start this sharing session by putting e-governance within a larger context. I would not like to oversimplify things, especially for students who are taking up masters in public administration. But I would like to believe that government and government instrumentalities largely should be measured against score. Perhaps we can call the first two as our outcomes, the last two as our intermediate results. So our outcomes are the local government are to improve competitiveness. That means that we should be able to attract business, to grow the economy, and to create wealth for our citizens. But our second outcome is also improving the quality of life. That may mean that quality of life may mean a lot of things. It may mean improvement in housing, health, security, the general physical environment, also social welfare. Uh, in Naga, we say that when we look at quality of life, we say we always have a bias for the poor. And we call this thing, this combination of competitiveness and quality of life in Naga as heavy growth with equity. Now, however, to deliver those outcomes, we focus on certain results. And the results are environment. That doesn't mean the natural environment, but we must create an environment. It may be a policy environment, a physical environment, a peace environment, which should allow businesses to grow and our citizens to thrive. And at the same time, we should also deliver programs, projects, and services to meet you, our constituents' needs. And we must do this both efficiently and effectively. So those are our measures. Now, how does e-governance or how can our IT initiatives or how do our IT initiatives fit within this? So let me show you the next slide. This is the focus of e-governance in the city government as well as a timeline. We were among the first local government units in the country to ever computerize. We started that in the late 1980s. So the focus of e-governance systems in the city government is to generate resources because the more resources we have, the more resources we have also for services to use. But we also use IT and technology to improve service delivery. We started in sometime in 1995. In fact, part of our productivity improvement program, we have to do what we call system change as well as people change. Then in 2001, we introduced a new tool, a tool to engage youth or as professor, as one of the professors said, to do civic engagement. And we just called our program iGovernance. Perhaps what's different about this civic engagement program is we do not want to engage groups, we engage you as individuals. But by using technology. So at the start, we had web pages. We were among the first local government units to really be transparent about our budgets, finances, and needs. Then it became part of the ARTA law. So I think you're familiar with the Anti-Red Tape Act. That was modeled after the Naga, the city government's citizens charter. Then later on, we use social media to continually engage you. Now, we are at Industry 4.0. And we also are embracing technology. So in 2018, we also introduced tools to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution tools to still engage you, improve productivity in folks, as well as enhance revenues of the city government. Now that we have started with 4.0 technologies, let's share with you where we want to go in the next 3 years. As mentioned by Professor Claudio, there are a lot of local governments which are looking at smart city technologies right now. Although don't mention that to Globe. For Globe, there are no smart cities. There are only intelligent cities. So, but as far as Naga is concerned, these are the specifics. We would like to, and we experience the problems, right? Really? Okay. So, what are the specifics? How do we intend, or where do we intend to use 4.0 technologies like convergence of communications and IoT and big data? We're looking at using them for traffic management. Traffic in Naga has been getting worse. It got worse when we installed the traffic lights. Would you agree? Uh, so we're looking at using machine learning as well as video processing to control our traffic signaling system. We are also looking at IoT for disaster resilience. Uh, this may be weather sensors, but one of the things we're looking at is sensing for drainages. Because one of our bigger problems is flooding, and what was one of the major causes of flooding in Naga? It's not really the volume of rain, but the flood drainages. So we should be able to maintain those drainages even before a large storm. So we would like to see machine learning and IoT for the maintenance of our drainage system. And perhaps we can use big data for data-driven decision making, especially on addressing poverty. I think as public administration students, you are familiar with CDMS. Am I correct? Anyway, if not, it's the community-based monitoring system. It started with the National Poverty Council. It's now with, if I'm not mistaken, the ILG. But what does it do? It does a detailed survey of all households within a local government unit every 3 years. Supposedly, that should allow us to plan our programs and to allocate our resources. Unfortunately, if you're going to look at a survey, one survey for one household will take a minimum of around 40 minutes to an hour. That tells you the volume of data that we are getting. But over the years, there has been no technology or there has been no intervention which would have allowed us to really analyze the data there. There are thousands of data elements. So we now would like to use that. Every 3 years, we spend 3 million minimum on a survey. But is there any benefit from the survey which we're getting right now? Not much. So we would like to take advantage of the survey that we have, and we'd like to update that every year. However, and perhaps this in most sessions where we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, we are given updates on new technologies. But as far as NAG is concerned, this is what we want to do. We want the fourth industrial revolution tools, which will be developed to be developed locally. Because we believe that you have the expertise. This city has the expertise. And we do not want to repeat what the other local government units have experienced. I'll give you an example. We have been talking about smart cities. There's one big city in the country which was among the first smart cities in the country. It invested hundreds of millions in proprietary technology. After 5 or 7 years, there was no support anymore from the proprietary vendor. So after spending hundreds of millions, they had to throw away the technology. And when we talk about 4.0 technologies and we talk to vendors, you'll find out that the technologies are quite expensive. Example, let's go back to traffic management. I was in an international conference on IoT, I think earlier last year or earlier this year. And it was also an opportunity for vendors to talk to governments which had initiatives of going towards smart cities. And they were showing us technologies. But then, the discussion was taking too long, so I simply asked a question. I said, I only have 5 million pesos to initially address my traffic management problem. What can you do for me? You know what the answer was? Wala. None. Okay? Because 5 million pesos was too low for them. To us, 5 million, 5 million, we can do a lot. So why don't we develop local? Because we believe we can do it. Okay, and that also addresses my concern for investors. I want to build local tech industry. So, in fact, to show you an example, let me now go to what was mentioned before by Professor Claudio. This was a digital PSPA awardee for last year, ASAP. We are still improving that. It's being used, but there are still rooms for improvement. But what is ASAP? ASAP is a rapid emergency dispatch and response system. That means if you need medical care, you need the police, you need the fire department, you can use ASAP. That's a mobile app tool. That's what you see at the front. But what does ASAP do? Let me just show you this so that we can see how we can use technology. Until 2010, this is how the city government responded to your request for emergency response. If you had a medical emergency, you had to call the Naga City Hospital or any other public or private hospital. And that hospital will dispatch its own responders. If it was a police problem, you have to call the police. And you have to remember the PNP hotline. And PNP will then send its responder. The same for BNP. In 2010, this is what we did. We set up a central communication center. What was the purpose? The purpose was just to centralize receiving of requests as well as dispatch of emergency personnel through a centralized command center. But the basic communication tool was still radio and telephone. So you have, I think you all know, a lot of you know about 472-3000. So if you have an emergency, call 472-3000, whatever emergency that is. Okay, when you call that, they will dispatch the relevant emergency personnel. But COMSEN will still have to call our Naga City Hospital separately, PNP, and PNP will in fact will just have a hotline officer and they will call their own responder to respond to your request. That's the same with PNP. So this is what ASAP did. ASAP now allows you to what? It allows you to request for emergency response, not only through telephone or through radio, but through text, through mobile calls, as well as through data. Okay? And it's either ASAP, the system, which will dispatch the responder, the relevant responder, or if you do not have access to data or mobile connections, it can still be COMSEN. So what you basically get is this. Okay? You have at the front an application for emergencies which works like Grab. So ASAP will tell you how far the emergency responder is. Okay? At the same time, it uses IoT. Okay, so that we know where all our responders are. So the last part of the slide is a map which you will see at our command center. It tracks all our emergency response assets, be they the police, fire, or ambulances. Okay. So when ASAP responds, it doesn't have to go through BFP anymore or the emergency responders. It will like Grab, it will identify which is the nearest emergency responder. So that's the benefit of a convergence of communications technology as well as IoT. Okay, so that's what ASAP does. But how were we able to do it? That's just my last slide. So, we don't have the expertise for the whole expertise. But for ASAP to have been done, we were able to do it in 3 to 4 months, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, but the idea for ASAP really was from feedback from our citizens, but it would not have happened without a champion. So in any endeavor, especially in government, there must always be a champion, and usually the champion is the mayor or a department head or a city official. So in the case of ASAP, it's the mayor who was the champion. And if we are looking at how we enable local governments to embrace the fourth industrial revolution, I think that will be a good intervention. We have to enhance knowledge and awareness of our local officials. But since we also would like to develop local, we believe that critical for embracing 4.0 technologies in local governments is in-house expertise. In-house expertise doesn't mean all the technological expertise, but at least awareness of technologies out there and how they can be applied and how to develop and manage technology projects. But critical also is collaboration. Like ASAP, we could not have done ASAP without you, for example, in the Ateneo. Because Ateneo through the Innovation Center provided Android support, iOS support, etc. You had the technical expertise. So I think it's important for us to continue developing collaboration with you. By the way, which also brings me to the last. As part of our initiatives to develop technology and use technology in governance, the city government of Naga this year actually set up its own digital innovation hub. What is that digital innovation hub for? That's to develop digital startups, but also to develop GovTech. Because we have been hearing about fintech, financial technology, etc. We would like to have a niche in GovTech. That means develop 4.0 technologies for improving government processes. And perhaps that now will be our challenge as a city government to you, as businessmen and as students of public administration. So perhaps you can look at collaborating, since you have the government ideas, collaborating with technical people. You have your engineering and science students here. You may want to look at collaborating with them to look into GovTech projects uh, to help local governments. Our vision ultimately is something like this if we're looking at 4.0. Why don't we develop solutions for developing countries, developed by developing countries at developing country prices? If we do that, then we will put ourselves on the map. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Sir Ruel. And now I'd like to introduce our second presenter from the Central Philippine University. And the presentation is entitled Initiatives and Development Efforts or Agenda in the Age of Industrial Revolution 4.0. The presenter is none other than the Honorable Mayor of Libertad Antique, Honorable Mary Jane Nicopiorte. May I request the speaker to unmute the microphone, please? We are unable to hear any audio from our end. We're not getting any audio.
Are we all set? May hapon liwat sa tanan. Mayor Mary Jane Te of the Municipal Libertad Province of Antique. Actually, I came from one of the smallest town in the province, one of the farthest from the capital town. It will take about 3 hours drive from San Jose to Libertad, and one of the poorest. I would like to, of course, invite everybody to come and see by yourself how small our town is. Now, I would like to first thank the organizers of this, how do you call this, webinar? Yes. Lighting. That's better. Thank you. Foremost, the CPU Center for Local Governance and Indigenous People Studies, the Ateneo de Naga University, the Philippine Society for Public Administration, and the Association of Schools of Public Administration of the Philippines for having me here. I am also a Centralian. I finished my Bachelor of Arts back in 1984-85, and I finished my Bachelor of Laws back in CPU in 1989. But I'm not a lawyer. I didn't take the bar. Anyway, my topic this afternoon is enabling local governments amidst the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Please allow me to simplify my approach in this significant moment of academic discourse with you by synthesizing the meaning of Industrial Revolution 4.0. And basically, an important change in this contemporary world that focuses heavily on interconnectivity, automation, machine learning, and real-time data. This is why it is referred to as 4.0, because it is the fourth wave of change in man's evolution, and advancement, from the steam engine revolution being the first, the age of science and mass production being the second, the rise of digital technology as third, and now the 4.0 or the fourth. So anong kinaobra sa isang small town in an Industrial Revolution 4.0? Actually, my vision for public service sparked up to life when I was first sworn into as municipal councillor back in 1995. I came from a third generation of politicians in my town. My lolo was the first elected mayor. My dad has been the mayor for 31 years. I took over in 1998. Hindi na kamamakulbaan kay hindi ko yung trapo, ha? 3 years after I was elected as municipal mayor, finished my term until 2007. A vacuum and a subsequent hiatus in the political scene brought me to Canada. After I ran for vice governor, and I lost from the current governor right now. And I have to migrate to Canada to do something different. I worked there as a summer counselor for refugees, where I also found a gainful employment and enjoying a beautiful life. Considered Canada is one of the most country to live, the best country to live in the world. Never had I imagined that my experience and exposure in that first world country, highly industrialized country, will eventually define my brand of public service when once my beloved hometown of Libertad beckoned and called me to serve again. So I came back in 2016 on my second batch of 9 years. Now, when I was elected in 2016, I immediately buckled down to work. I only have one singular focus, which is experience is the best teacher. Canada gave me an opportunity, a crash learning experience in modern communications and technology management, which included the nuances of data programming, storing, and banking. Local government countries there, here and there, structured issues were so streamlined and systematic in terms of delivery, effectiveness, and efficiency in services. And you know why? It is because of Industrial Revolution 4.0. When I started my political career, I was already sent to the Asian Institute of Management to study on governance and accountability, and it helps me a lot. I'm also a product of Kaya Natin movement by Jesse Roberto Foundation. And bringing home the lesson from Canada, bringing home the lessons and appreciation development initiatives from our foreign land, I became a stronger advocate of sustainable development. Kaya magkambagan kalabanan, magkambagan development, it's more of infrastructure, right? And you need more money with that. But because my town was been a recipient of ANIA on sustainable development, it already opens my door on how would I interpret governance in a way where I know it's better. And by way of totally embracing the influence of data banking is the first step to have a clear picture of what information is or are needed in the deliberations, assessments, and analysis of the many myriad socioeconomic issues and concerns, like barangay should be practiced in terms of delivery of basic services. The principle of economics is here applied because of the scarcity of resources. Being a fifth-class municipality, we don't have enough money. Our local income is only 2.5 million in a year. Kaya ano man pa naman sa isang mga source, but more on permits, licenses, and fees. But distribution of the same resources can't be effective and responsive unless you have correct data, not just baseline or raw, but products and outputs of quantitative and qualitative inputs from established and credible researchers, or simply described by the click of your finger. As a politician, I am no longer stereotyped as discharging my duties through political patronage. I now deliver frontline and basic services, not because of political debts, but of social, environmental, economic needs through database. So I'll give you some examples of my innovations in the town. Just picture out a small town like Libertad with a mega resources with an era of around 70 million a year. I don't know kung paano ko naubra nita na. One example is I was able, when I first started, Libertad is nowhere to reach. We don't have telephone, we don't have telegram, we don't have mobile services, no internet. And it was funny when I first went to the States. One of the delegates that I attended in one of my seminars, can I have your number? Can I have your card? I said, sorry, I don't have a number. I don't have email address. You can reach me by mail. So, no, even at that time, hindi pa mo grabe ang pagsulod sa internet. But after knowing that, in 2003, I lobbied a telephone company, an internet provider in the neighboring province in Aklan. We call it Pantelco, to at least establish a linkage in my town. But they won't come to us unless we shell out some capital funds. I need 2 million. So luckily, my council authorized me to at least appropriate 1 million as our counterpart, and I asked Governor Sally Perez to give me another 1 million. So I was able to provide a 50-50 share profit initiative. So Subong, the Libertad Pantelco partnership, telecom exchange is ongoing. We manage it in a 60-40 sharing. And so, it opened now the doors for us, a new era for my town, because we already started connected. Second, when I came in 2016, we had there was a concrete available, but there was no concrete available data for the town. So, Mayo lang, there was an appropriation for CBMS, the community-based monitoring system. You know it is, where we gather all information through, we have enumerators, and we have tablets that provides specific forms to fill up. Now, It is a diagnostic tool that assesses poverty in the barangay, municipal, and provincial level. It then provides decision makers and project implementers with good information base. So in 2016, um, it's been hard for me because when I came back, nobody can even tell me how many women in the town. Where are they? Who are the most vulnerable sector? Who are the poor? Where are they located? Which barangay is having difficulty in accessing social services or safe drinking water? So, nakabudlay, no? When investors comes in and then wala ka data ihatag, so you're in a dilemma on what to do. So I was kind of a blind leader. And I can see and understand why my people and my town. Kasi ako, mabalo mo nga, how many population Libertad has? Ang data sa PACOM is different from the data of the DOH. So, parang you're confused and you don't even know how to answer. Good thing CBMS was one of the budgeted programs under the 2015 BUB project. And as soon as I knew it, I sat down with DILG and we planned out its implementation. We used the computer-based CBMS, which uses new technology like computers, tablets, and data servers. Gathering of data has been easy. Same with taking the GPS coordinates of each house in the barangays. It can be done in just a click of a finger. Now we were able to generate data and build database and poverty maps of our municipality. Planners are now equipped with good data, and policymakers are also informed of the current situation of the municipality. Data and maps also guides us on the direction we're taking, our priorities, and in our planning and budgeting processes. Number 3, establishment of municipal information system. We don't have that before. Now, when I came back in 2016. And I found the recognition of the importance of information technology for an effective governance. I started the steps in establishment of MIS. I organized a team of ITs and planners and started investing on their IT needs. Our gains on this initiative are the following. We are the first LGU in the province to use barcoding system in recording employees' attendance and DTR generation. In just a tap on the barcode, their time in and out are recorded automatically. They don't need to fall in line and spend longer hours recording and preparing their time records. Now, in just a click, DTRs are generated in just a minute, and employees now have more time for their work and their personal needs. It also established a system on generating data of employees' approved leave of absences. Now we can easily know who are tardy and absent employees, and we can automatically compute employees' leave credits in just a click. We also have automated the billing system of our recently established income generating project, which is the Libertad Water Works. Libertad just had a water system. For the past many years, we were deprived of a provision of a water system. Tanan nakabomba-bomba lang, poso. But because of the assistance coming from my ADM, the Assistance for Disadvantaged Municipalities, and DPWs, were able to start off with 20 million for our water system. And it's operating now. In just 3 months, we're able to raise at least 1 million for our income. And in just a click, water bills of the consumers are generated and printed. And upon payment, there's also an automated paying system installed at our treasury office. Employees involved in this process are having a great relief because of the efficiency and easiness the system provides. Same with the consumers paying, they like the efficiency of service we gave them. We are now establishing our system linking our accounting, budget, and cash. Once done, this will pave way to automated disbursements, minimizing time of processing errors and cutting red tapes. And only first-class municipalities have done this. I always emphasize that we're a fifth-class municipality. We have so meager resources that it's really hard for us to buy systems. How much do you think the system now? It's like 300 to 500,000, right? And same with our tax collection. We're now in the process of building the system in our assessor and treasury office for our real estate tax collection. This is expected to increase our income, and we're currently right now we're 97 dependent on HERA. Now, we also use the system using an app to track local fish catch. We are a recipient of a partnership by Rare Foundation, and I told you it was really good to be working with them. In our fishery, because it's a coastal town, uh, there's an existing alliance of 4 municipalities sharing one resource base, which is Pandan Bay, and I chair the alliance right now. We've been championing fishery conservation, protection, and management with the help of our partners like Rare Philippines for years now. Rare is actually funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies, Mayor Bloomberg of New York, which is based in Virginia. And one of our problems is that our small-scale fisheries catch was extremely difficult to track. And our fishing communities were suffering for it in many different ways. Fishing sector became unimportant to decision makers due to the lack of data. Rare Philippines helped us solve this through the introduction of an app called Our Fish. This is a user-friendly app and is used in tracking our fish catch in the municipality. Now we can track how much our small fishers contribute to our economy, what fish are on season on a specific month, and what challenges they are facing. Decision makers can also have a picture of status of fish catch in our area, therefore helping them have an information decision for the fisheries sector. This app is helping our fishers build a financially resilient future. And in all humility, the initiatives of my administration have created waves to our other government agencies and NGOs, thus gaining more opportunities and an access for funding assistance for my development programs. I was also chosen to represent our country in the FAO Coffee 33rd Annual Congress of Nations held in Rome and in Tokyo for the Philippines-Japan Learning Exchange Program in 2017. I presented and read a paper about our country's best practices and of my hometown as well in areas of fisheries, environment, that's my expertise, agriculture, and of local governance. And I'm sure opportunities will be always bountiful for us. Right now in my area, I actually asked Congresswoman Lauren Legarda, who happened to be our Congresswoman, to pass a law for the beach turf protection in the northern area. So we're an existing partnership in the coastal, which we call the Paseco, and we have right now a declared protected area in the upland, which is being managed by PAMPI now. Now, other notable benefits of Industrial 410, Revolution 410, in my experiences in governance are the following. People's empowerment. As people become more informed and the government becomes transparent and accountable, people's trust to the government also improves. It also builds up the capacity of the members of the community to participate in the development and planning and monitoring process. Improve and effective local governance, that's true. It paves the way to the enrichment of existing LGU database, enhancement of the preparation of socio-economic profiles, development and investment plans, and the delivery of basic services has become efficient as implementers are aware of the target beneficiaries and the location. And finally, eradicate poverty. I don't know if you agree with me, but for sure I am definitely amenable that when you do this, it's little by little eradicate poverty. So, Industrial Revolution are 4.0 leaders of government with tool in fighting poverty. It aids in diagnosing poverty in local level. And truly, Industrial Revolution has changed the playing field in the government. Current leaders in the government have to step up and adapt to these changes in order to be effective and relevant. And let me end my speech by saying this paradox. Amira Yayowi, founder and chair of Palpao Sana, when she said, the fourth industrial revolution should be a revolution of values. Thank you and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor Mary Jo Lecopiote. Now we will proceed with the open forum, and we will accommodate one question for each resource speaker. May we request the Central Philippine University to prepare their questions, and the sequence of the questions will be a question from PSPA, one question for ASPAP, and one question for Ateneo. And then for Ateneo, same order, one question for PSPA, ASPAP, and in the Central Philippine University. We have a May I check if Central Philippine University is ready for the question?
The floor is now open to accommodate the questions.
Now, the first question will be addressed to PSPA, Dr. Calina.
Any question?
So, from CTU, we don't have any question from Dr. Calina. If there's no question, we can proceed for a question to Dr. Claudio.
Do you have any question for Dr. Claudio, the second speaker?
Then perhaps everyone was enlightened with their presentation. How about a question to us from the host institution? Mine as well? Okay, now we will now entertain questions from Ateneo. So first, if you have questions to Dr. Kalina, you may use the microphone opposite aisle, please. Questions from our MPA students, MBA students. Dr. Kalina, I have a question. Hello? Dr. Kalina? Hi, Dr. Kalina. This question is regarding the frenetic leadership spaces. It sounds very interesting. As MBA students, how can we be involved or have an exposure when it comes to this type of frenetic leadership spaces? May I request the speaker, Dr. Kalina, to unmute their microphone? We're not receiving an audio from our end.
We have your question again, ma'am.
Sure. Regarding the frenetic leadership pieces, as Masters of Public Administration and Business Administration students, how can we be exposed or get an experience regarding these frenetic leadership pieces?
How can we what?
How can we have an exposure or an experience so we get to have a
How can we handle pressure as public administration students?
the regards the problematic leadership cases in your presentation? It's the kind of leadership training you render to COA, to auditors, to other government agencies. Do we request for it from PSPA so we get to be trained as well?
Okay, so frenetic leadership as a is a management framework is very much applicable to local government units. So we cascaded a number of training programs to local government officials and also to local government operations officer of the ILG. So we conducted series of training programs already with them. It's not only about management, but it is also about how to promote peace in the community. And also, frenetic leadership is equivalent to ethical leadership. So we produced one module for the local government academy, which they used for their local government operations officer. So frenetic leadership is very vital to our local government officials and employees in order for them to introduce innovations and agility. And this leadership framework is very much applicable when it comes to first social innovation, peacekeeping, ethics and accountability, and also knowledge management. So we tried this, and until now, no, until now, the Department of Interior and Local Government is asking for our technical assistants to do benchmarking for them, no, in order to further elaborate and operationalize the six abilities of a wise leader.
Thank you, Dr. Kalina. Just a follow-up question. Is that regarding the frenetic leadership, because you mentioned that at the end of the day, what's most important are our ethical values. And thinking of this frenetic leadership program will be beneficial for the MBA and MBA students. Do we request for them to be trained to have knowledge on this type of framework? Is there
So
an associated fee to get trained for this?
how important is ethics, no, and values in public service, especially for our students, MPA and MPA students? I would say that the subject on ethics and accountability is something that we, for the longest time, we did not really give attention to this one. But especially now that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, I'd like to really push that ethics and accountability as a subject in MPA and in graduate programs must be given emphasis. So this is very important because this subject talks about culture, about values, and about sense of nationalism and love of country. And these four components are important in national and local development. So we cannot proceed with globalization, we cannot proceed with fourth industrial revolution, we cannot proceed with innovations and agility if we will not look into our ethics, values, and culture in order for us to really promote and nurture, the sense of nationalism and love of country. Remember that our constitution provides for the values. Now, in our preamble, we talk about values. We don't talk about efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. It's all about values there. So if we have to revisit, then we will be able to rekindle, the spirit of makadiyos, makatao, makalikasan, at makabansa, which is also our national motto. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalina. Any other questions from fellow Ateneans? So should we move to question addressed to Dr. Claudio? George, please use the microphone. We have a question for address for Dr. Claudio.
So, sir, good afternoon. I'm George from Ateneo. So, sir, my question is, we are entering the fire of fourth industrial revolution. Uh, how far are we in the Philippines implementing the national ID system? Are we ready, or uh, does the government or any institution support this push by the government for the national ID system? Thank you.
I Can you hear me now? Yes. So with regard to the national ID system, well, actually, the Philippines right now has the ICT, Department of Information Communication, a very good move on the part of government. But if you're going to analyze it, these agencies have been in existence. It is just a matter of creating a law, making this a department. But it actually, parang itinaas lang sa level ng department yung DICT. Now, the question is about the national ID system. I think that in many countries, they have already implemented an ID system. But in the Philippines, it remains to be a debate with regard to security, human rights, and privacy. I think that, in this administration, alam nyo, medyo kakaiba yung bagong administration because the many things that we have been discussing for the past decades, may mga pagkakataon na nagiging mabilis yung mga proseso in this administration. I hope you agree with me, be it positive or negative. But like for example, federalism, ang tagal-tagal pinagdedebatihan, after some time, then nagkaroon ng mga initiatives, although right now still parang standstill pa rin yung Senate and the House with regard to that. In the national ID system, I think there are already legworks being done, but marami pa rin nagdedebate with regard to human rights and other things. But I think that merong movement or merong I think malaking probability that this particular law will be passed, no? And this will be a reality in the Philippines under this administration.
Thank you very much.
I guess it's I'd like to add, no. Binigay ko because I don't understand the question. The question was like, ano na yung current situation?
How far are we when it comes to the readiness of the national ID system? How far
Regard to
are we
the
there?
implementation. Ayun, yun nga, yung latest kasi with that is mahirap ngayon dahil it's not part of walang masyadong balita, no? Of course, I am from the academe, I am outside of government, but I can only siguro I can only get some information coming from friends or coming from the information given by government. So may mga moves, but if you're going to ask me whether I am for the national ID system, I think napaka-importante that we have this kind of that we have this kind of ID system in the country. Of course, not naman to jeopardize the privacy, but we have many IDs already, and I think it's a matter of unifying. May mga initiatives na on the part of government like the UMID card, no? So I think that maraming pwedeng ma-save natin na oras and also resources of the national ID system. It is a must, but I think that we need to also bring all sectors together so that yung ating mga concerns with regard to security will be addressed, no? But I am for the national ID system.
Thank you so much, Dr. Claudio. Now we move to the second round of questions. May we request the Central Philippine University if you have any questions to Ateneo. And to a question addressed to the Information Technology Officer of Naga City.
ang question.
Question to Ateneo de Naga. Question. Information technology. Governance.
Itong response ko lang nila.
Just to clarify, there is no question from CPU.
Okay, Claudio na. After Claudio. Kaya nakamukasyon. Sige, Mike, sa mic na.
And there is no question coming from Central Philippine University.
No question?
No question.
All right, thank you. How about any other question to our representative from PSPA, ASPAP, and to Sir Well from Naga City? No, no questions from CPU. This will be our last session for question forum. So if you have any questions stayed in your mind, you may ask now.
There is one question from Central Philippine University.
Thank you. The question will be addressed to?
The question is addressed to Dr. Claudio.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. As what you have presented a while ago, in the age of industrial revolution, the local government really has to partner with the academe.
Yes.
In providing, for example, policy-based researches to help the local government improves its delivery of effective delivery of its services. My question is, as coming from the academic sector, what are then your initiatives already in PUP, wherein Central Philippine University can somehow benchmark to promote, for example, participatory improvement in local governance? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that question. I was once Dean of the College of Political Science and Public Administration of my university, and our flagship extension program is Barangay Development Academy, where we train a total of around 30 adopted barangays here in Manila on many issues like good governance, barangay fiscal administration, and many things. No, we also use researches as input, no, in our discussions for this capacity building intervention on the part of for our barangay officials. So I think it is important that that local governments and not only local governments but the government in general must partner or collaborate. Dr. Lizan called it as co-create with the government and the academe. But you know, in the Philippines, I don't know if I am just expressing my opinion that, you know, there's always this parabang gap between the academe and the government. Most of the time, government officials think that they know better. Most of the time, they're thinking that this will not work in reality. Kasi scientific yan, researches yan, etc., etc. That's why most of the researches, after the thesis, no, napakarami. In PUP, we have around a total of 120 graduate students every year. And most of the time, if you're going to look at how many of these researches or theses were translated into public policies, napakaliit. And the same is true with the rest of the country, not only in PUP. But I think most of the academics, ang pinakamalaking problema is how to transform this. Walang nagpipick up coming from the local government or even the national government, translating this thesis, no, recommendations into public policies, government programs, or probably as inputs to improve government operations. I think that number one, ang local governments and national governments hindi laging data-driven. And second is that siguro din on the part of the academe, kailangan siguro niyang mas patunayan that meron siyang capacity to really help, that it should not be only concerned with knowledge dissemination but knowledge creation. I think that we have to strengthen the academe as well, no? In many parts of the world, yung mga progressive countries, the academe, the people in the academe are part of committees of particular government advisory councils to help governments improve services. In Taiwan, for example, yung Tonghai University, where we stayed for knowledge co-creation, malaki yung kanyang participation with regard to the governance of the entire city. And they are also tapping PhDs, academics, because napansin ko rin, like in Japan, in many countries, most of the local government officials, they are coming from the academe as well. Marami po sa Japan, for example, PhD holders ang mga mayors, no? What I'm saying is that I think hindi lamang ang local government ang dapat tulungan kung hindi yung academe din, no? Kasi yung sharing of resources in this industry 4.0, in the time of industrial revolution 4.0 is very important. The academe also needs resources so that it can continue doing researches that is beneficial to society. And I think that ang nagiging problema kasi is the limited resources, and at the same time most yung mga outputs ng mga academic natin are not really tapped by the sectors, kahit naman hindi lang siguro government but also the private sector. I think that malaking dapat pag-aralan din, dapat i-research din siguro ng mga academic kung bakit hindi nagiging practicable or applicable or hindi na-pick up yung mga researches na ginagawa nila. I think somewhere a comprehensive study must be made in order for us to understand why. But there are initiatives already taken by ASPAP schools. My university, part of our function is not only instruction but also extension. That's why Dr. Alex Brillantes keep on telling us about the town and gown, which is a responsibility of the academic community, that whatever we create or whatever we teach in our classrooms must be extended to the wider community, because at the end of the day, the problems of society are also problems of the academic community and vice versa. So, parang it takes two to tango. Thank you.
Do you have any more questions coming from Central Philippine University?
Madam Chair, may I add on Dr. Sanjay's points?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the importance of setting earlier the framework on knowledge creation. We at the Philippine Society for Public Administration, along with ASPAP, because if you observe, yung mga officers ng ASPAP and PSPA are really working together, no? Same yan, and nagko-collaborate. And we are really advocating for this frenetic leadership framework, because in this framework, we co-create knowledge, we share. And yung sabi natin na problem ng academe, we have researches, pero nandun lang siya sa shelf, no? Nandun lang siya, nakastop lang siya doon. Hindi siya go further dun sa policy makers natin. Ang suggestion natin is, in knowledge co-creation, we have to provide policy notes for our local and national policy makers. Para at the end of the day, itong mga researches natin, meron siyang use, no? Like for example, when we launched the UNDP governance hubs, ang sinasabi namin dyan, kailangan po natin magkaroon ng academe, no, community, LGU linkage. And that is the same with the town and gown principle na ina-advocate din ni Dr. Alex Brillantes. So at this point in time, we need to shift to policy notes. From researches, gawa natin siya ng policy notes, and we have to feed these policy notes to our policymakers. The same initiative yung ginagawa ngayon ng UST research, no? Kasi ang sabi nga nila, nandun lang siya nakatago yung mga researches namin. Sayang naman, hindi siya nagagamit. When in fact, no, the Philippine Congress really wants to have those researches para mas-support yung mga bills nila. Ito kasi will really redound to sound legislative governance. No? If we provide them information, then our legislators, our policymakers will be able to make sound policy decisions. So I think with PSPA and ASPAP, no, and with other universities, we can do better. No, we can help local government units to further improve their researches and improve their policies. And we are also advocating evidence-based policymaking. So we are about to start the training program for our legislators kasi hindi siya pwede na sabihin lang nila without handles, no, na ito yung gusto namin for ordinances or for house measures. They need to have our support in order to have an empirical data for their policy decisions. Okay, yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much as well, Dr. Calina. Any more questions from CPU?
We have another question coming from CPU.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sanjay Claudio. I am Professor Eric Otaide of the Social Sciences and the Public Administration Department also of CPU. I know that there was already this strengthening of relationship between the academe and the government sector because a good number of students of masteral and doctoral degree courses are enrollees coming from the government. There is indeed already some sort of a strong liaison between these two sectors. However, the question I think is, to quote our mayor from the province of Antique, the third speaker, there has to be some sort of a revolution of values. That is, I think, the paradox of Industrial Revolution 4.0, because while we all speak already about connectivity, real-time, internet, which is already a way of life, real-time also, then what about some sort of an ethical and values consideration when it comes to things like how best can we contribute to LGUs? By way of observation, because I came from public, as a public servant also going towards being an academic professor, there are considerations about salaries. Most of the academe are pirated by government LGUs and institutions. And then, of course, that is everywhere. So the value system comes in. How best can we strengthen this thing known as trying to convince ourselves as catalysts of change by further influencing our government policymakers to stick to data, to give emphasis on information. So that is just a reaction, doctor. Thank you.
Yes. Sir, I agree. I really agree with you. I think that that's I think missing, no? That decision making in the country is not based on data. And even if there are data available or information available, I agree with Dr. Lizan that you have to give them policy notes or to translate, this thesis into something that they can easily understand, since politics and the academe are very much different. But at the end of the day, sometimes even if there are data available, they are not being used by by politicians. And I also agree that we are also the one training these public officials. Kanino po ba naman ang galing itong ating mga mayors, governors, from the president down to the lowest official? If they're not educated abroad, they're educated here in the Philippines. And I think that is also a function of the academic institutions that train them. So the challenge on public officials become a challenge also to the academic sectors that train them. And with that regard, I think we have to strengthen the teaching of values. I agree with Dr. Lizan again with regard to the teaching of values. But in our curriculum, in public administration, I think that there are a lot of subjects or courses that integrates values, not even in other courses. But at the end of the day, I think that we have to also study the best way to really teach values, because if that is purely lecture and there's no practical application, then it will not work. Because corruption in this country, I think, is a function of the more than the computers, its values, right? Even if you have Industry 4.0, interactivity, the Internet of Things, but it is not, just like what I've said in my presentation, it is not the weapons that win wars, but the men who fought them. At the end of the day, this Internet of Things, this Industrial Revolution 4.0 is created by people for the people. So at the end of the day, I think that, teaching values, we have to go back to the basic. So I think that the PSPA and the ASPAP, being an organization of schools in public administration, should work really closely together with the government and other sectors, even the private sector, to strengthen the teaching of values and integrate that into the curriculum. I understand that I'm talking with the new dean of the NCPAG last time, and we were talking about integrating a certain topic or subject in the curriculum, not only for public ad majors, but for all majors. Because at the end of the day, those attracted by government to be employees or officials in the future are not only public ad majors, but they are accountants, all fields. So that is why I think that we have to understand how government works, and we have to understand the values required of government work.
On behalf of the local government.
Thank you very much, Dr. Claudio. We also have here a feedback from as a representative from the local government of Naga City. May I request Sir Yes, please use the microphone.
This is just a suggestion as far as the approach is concerned. Because apparently the issue is you have studies, you have researches not being used by government. But let me also tell you that government the same reaction. That you have researches which are not relevant. In fact, and since we're talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0, while here the question is as far as policies are concerned, I think we also look at how applications can be made, because 4.0 does not only refer to policies but largely applications. And on practice of the use of fire. Now, and if you're going to ask us the local authorities, that's why we say to us, collaboration with academics is important. But we have to find an approach to make this work, where we have to address that things which you should do should be relevant to us. Yes, research that you like to do. But we have certain misgivings, for example, as far as your engineering students, are concerned. They have senior projects take note. And I'm saying, if you're going to look at, and you're looking at fire, and if you're going to look at what the students are doing, then what they're doing is being done in the first world, but we do not realize it. Okay? That's why we said collaboration is important. But the problem is approach. So how do we do this? But the problem is when you do thesis, when you do senior projects, you do them on your own. Okay? You have students proposing to an academic committee. Okay? But have you ever asked government what you need
Yes.
before you do your research? Okay, perhaps since we're looking at the fourth industrial revolution, we take a model. Okay, and my model is if you want if what is to work, perhaps the model can be the digital startup model. How do digital startups grow? They have ideas. Okay, but you can start with, we call it a hackathon. Okay, so if I'm going for example, to do industrial 4.0 projects in the city government, and I know what my needs are, I will do a hackathon. Okay, and I will say this hackathon is for policies or for applications in disaster resilience. Okay, I will fund a certain portion of development or a certain portion of research. Okay, then I will ask you to do pitches. Okay, the pitch which I select, I will find because that's relevant.
That's very helpful, Sir Noel. From Ateneo and Naga University, do you have questions for Mayor Mary Jean? We can accommodate questions for Mayor. Anyone? Yes, sir. This is the microphone on the center aisle.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon po, Mayor. I have a question because industrial revolution would is not impossible that it would replace our human resource to computers. So soon some functions or not all, most of the functions of humans will be replaced by artificial intelligence. In the setting of your municipality or city, how do you prepare for this? Or what are the actions of your municipality in aid of legislation in order to prepare for or anticipate this to happen?
Actually, as of the moment, while everybody's still struggling to put everything in place in terms of governance and making sure that we're being competitive, productive in terms of our output, I don't entertain the idea yet of trying to really look into the possibility that we will be soon be taken over by robots and right? I mean, with Philippines right now, putting on data in all the information, I still refuse to think of that opportunity where we will be later on controlled by computers and other technologies. For now, our country or our town still needs workforce, IT experts that can really help us in place all our operations and delivery of basic services. I don't know. I still refuse that idea until now. It will take centuries, maybe, right? I mean, for now, like although even our vacuum is already controlled by computers, in a click of your hand, it can just clean your house by just simply like moving on by itself. But in terms of management, administration, and leadership, my thought refuses that opportunity later on. I don't know with you guys. Like for me, I don't want to take that. Not maybe in my lifetime, but if it happens, then I think Philippines will be as ready, and everybody will be will embrace the opportunity of technology as as we go along with our struggle in building a better nation for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I understand that by 3:30, the Central Philippine University will have to go offline. And we would like to acknowledge your participation for this afternoon's webinar. And we'll just proceed with the continuation of our program, even if Central Philippine University will go offline. Now, moving forward, do you have any questions to Sir Ruel coming from Ateneo de Naga? You may use the microphone. I was going to ask.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Joseph and I'm an MBA student. My question about the fire of fourth industrial revolution. I know that we presented about trading of software applications and other developments that uh, uh, is a form of service to the constituent of Naga. But knowing that Philippines is a democratic country and one of our biggest problems is corruption, how can we address this problem? Probably, what is the current status or acceptance of the government through the Naga State? If how are we going to fix this biggest problem of our country? Simply by putting myself in the shoes of our citizens. Uh, Ordinaryong tao, magkano kaya ginastos ng itong ganitong gobyerno, isang kalsada, at nasira agad? Magkano kaya ang budget nito pero ganito lang yung nangyari? Pero may pinupush tayong Transparency Act or Full Disclosure Policy, and meron na tayong technological advancement. Can we embrace these changes, or maybe can we how are we going to encourage the politicians to embrace these changes? And po.
How do you encourage politicians to embrace changes? That's a difficult question to answer. How do you really culture? But since that the question is as regards tax corruption, let me just share with you the approach of the city government. And let me just say that somewhere along the way, we see a bit of even international. The answer to us is not really the use of 4.0 tools. If you address corruption, I mean, we said that if you want to address corruption, I think the first thing you have to do is really be transparent and engage. Okay? That's why in 2001, as far as the city government is concerned, we initiated the iGovernance program. What's the intent? We said the intent is to engage citizens because the principle being if we engage you, how do we engage you? We engage you by being open about information. So we call it information openness. That's really transparency. We just have to be clear about what we are transparent about. Because we can simply say, we're transparent, but about what? Okay? So we say that in 2001, we will be transparent. We will be transparent with our finances. So you will see where your money is going. We will be transparent as far as projects are concerned. So do you know, as far as the city government is concerned, how much it cost us to build a kilometer of road? And I can tell you that 40 to 60% cheaper. So you have to be transparent. So, but again, that will require leadership, right? Whether we want to really be transparent or not. But then, as I said, you also see along the way, international government. If you can note, there's already a piece of doing business act. So one form of lowering corruption is making everything more efficient. Okay, doing things faster. Right? So if I mandate that you have to be able to get a license in one day, then you will also minimize the areas for corruption. Okay, and the national government is quite, well, it's quite serious about implementing the into this. Okay, so that's all I can say on this one.
Thank you so much, Sir Roel. And again, a huge thanks to all our participants, especially to all of our speakers, namely Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina and Dr. Sanjay P. Claudio, as well as the Honorable Mary Jeanette Necopiote for sharing their valuable time, knowledge, and expertise for this afternoon's webinar. And we will now proceed with the awarding of the certificates. Allow me to read a citation which applies to all of our speakers. Ateneo de Naga University Graduate School Master in Public Administration Program through the Center for Local Governance awards this Certificate of Appreciation, name of our speakers, for unselfishly sharing their time, knowledge, and expertise during the webinar on enabling local governments amidst the Industrial Revolution 4.0, held on January 11, 2020, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Instructional Media Center at Ateneo de Naga University. Signed, Program Director, MDA and MDA Cluster Director, Center for Local Governance, Malusi Barcelona, PhD. May we call
Thank you, JC. So of course we can award this online. So we'll just be handing this over to Dr. Claudio and Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina. So on behalf of the graduate school, the Center for Local Governance, maraming salamat to our speakers, to Dr. Calina and Dr. Claudio, for being with us this afternoon online, and also to the Central Philippine University. They also had their speaker, Mayor Mary Jean Te, and of course, maraming salamat for also being with us this afternoon. So this is, as mentioned, this is the first time that we hold this webinar. It's also the first time that we had the two presidents of the professional organizations. So we'll just be having our own awarding of certificate to Sir Roel, who also shared with us the case of local government unit of Naga City about the e-governance. So again, maraming salamat, Dr. Claudio and Dr. Calina. Also, we failed to acknowledge the students of Dr. Calina, who are all based at University of Makati. Okay, salamat po. So we'll now be offline.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manu. Now we proceed with our awarding to our very valuable speaker for this afternoon, Sir Roel. May I please request you to go in front to receive your certificate. And of course, our director, Dr. Barcelona, to present this certificate.